Hello, fellow horror fans. Well, first of all, hold on. You guys like my new shirt? It says, "Who you gonna call?" Winchesters. And I can't see it, but yeah, it says Winchesters on the bottom. Yeah, it's a supernatural parody to Hollywood shirt I got on Monday. So yeah. Anyway, so with that out of the way, let's get into talking about today's movie, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, aka Halloween 3, the one without Michael Myers, Laurie Strode, or Dr. Loomis. So, here we go. On October 23rd, shop owner Harry Grimbridge runs along a barren road in Northern California, chased by mysterious figures in business suits. He makes it to a gas station, clutching a jack-o'-lantern mask. He is driven to the hospital by station attendant Walter Jones. At the hospital, Grimbridge is placed in the care of Dr. Dan Chalice. That night, another mysterious man in a suit enters Grimbridge's hospital room, kills him, then goes to his car and immolates himself. Ugh. The next morning, Grimbridge's daughter Ellie arrives to identify her father's remains. Ellie and Chalice agree to investigate his murder, leading them to the small town of Santa Mira, California. The hotel manager explains that Cornell Cochran and his company, Silver Shamrock Novelties, which produces widely popular latex jack-o'-lantern, witch, and skeleton masks for Halloween, are responsible for the town's prosperity. While signing the motel register, Chalice learns that Grimbridge stayed at the same motel. Other motel guests include shop owners Marge Gutman and Buddy Kupfer, Buddy's wife Betty, and their son Little Buddy, who have business at the company's factory. Gutman finds a microchip on the back of his silver shamrock button and is electrocuted by its laser beam after poking with a hairpin. Chalice and Ellie learn of Gutman's accident, and Chalice attempts to help, but is forced away by a group of men dressed in lab coats, who drive away in a van with Marge's body. The next morning, Chalice and Ellie tour the factory with the Kupfers and discover Grimbridge's car there, guarded by more men dressed in suits. They return them to the motel, but cannot contact anyone outside the town. While Chalice attempts to phone for the authorities, Ellie is kidnapped by the men in suits and driven to the factory. Chalice pursues them, breaks into the factory, and discovers that the men in suits are androids created by Cochran. Okay. Chalice is captured by the androids, and Cochran reveals his plan to sacrifice children wearing his masks on Halloween, thus bring about a resurrection of the ancient age of witchcraft. Okay. For Silver Shamrock's big giveaway, which will air at 9 p.m. on all television channels following the Horror-thon, each of these masks contain a fragment of Stonehenge implanted in its trademark microchip. When activated by a flashing signal on the commercial's on-screen magic pumpkin, the microchip causes the mask wearer to succumb to brain damage from absorbing the energy of Stonehenge and unleashes a swarm of insects and snakes that come out of the wearer's corpse and kill anyone nearby. To demonstrate, Cochran kills Kupfers this way. Ooh, nasty. That night, Cochran puts the Silver Shamrock mask on Chalice and leaves him to die the same fate as the trick-or-treating children, who will come back home for his false watch-to-win Halloween sweepstakes that he created for his company. But Chalice, after destroying the television set and removing the mask, escapes through a ventilation shaft and rescues Ellie. He dumps the chips from the overhead rafters and activates their signal with the commercial, killing Cochran and his employees, and destroying the computer chips along with the entire Silver Shamrock factory. Yay! As the two drive away, Ellie attacks Chalice, revealing that Cochran replaced the real Ellie with an android duplicate. Chalice crashes the vehicle and decapitates the android with a tire iron. On foot, Chalice arrives at Jones's gas station, where he contacts the television stations and convinces all but one of the station managers to remove the commercial. However, at that same moment, a group of trick-or-treaters, wearing their masks that are not destroyed, come to participate in the big giveaway without being aware of the sacrificing threat. Chalice persuades the stations to take it off channels 1 and 2, but not channel 3 where the fake sweepstakes keeps on playing, right on to the magic pumpkin sequence. He then desperately tries to convince the company to stop playing the commercial, yelling on the telephone, as the animated pumpkin head blinks non-stop in front of him and the children. The film ends with Chow screaming for the final station to turn off the commercial. Well, that's a bit of an anticlimax. Sheesh, I want to know how it ends, but no, I guess we won't know how it ends. Ugh. Bummer. Anyway, let's look at the production of this movie. When approached about creating a third Halloween film, original Halloween writers John Carpenter and Deborah Hill were reluctant to pledge commitment. According to Fangoria magazine, Carpenter and Hill agreed to participate in the new project only if it was not a direct sequel to Halloween 2, which meant no Michael Myers. Erwin Yabans and Mustafa Akkad, who had produced the first two films, filmed Halloween 3 on a budget of $2.5 million. Special effects artist Don Post of Post Studios designed the latex masks in the film, which included a glow-in-the-dark skull, a lime green witch, and an orange day-glow jack-o'-lantern. Hill told Algene Harmitz, quote, "We didn't exactly have a whole lot of money for things like props, so we asked Post, who had provided the shape mask for the earlier Halloween 2, if we could work out a deal." The skull and witch masks were adaptations of standard Post Studios masks, but the jack-o'-lantern was created specifically for Halloween 3. Post linked the masks of the film to the popular masks in the real world, saying, quote, "Every society and every time had its masks that suited the mood of the society, from the masked ball to clowns to makeup. People would act out a feeling inside themselves, angry, sad, happy, old. It may be a sad commentary on present-day America that horror masks are the best sellers." Oh, that's interesting. Most of the filming took place on location in the small town of Loleta, California. Familiar Foods, a milk bottling plant in Loleta, served as the Silver Shamrock Novelties factory, but all special effects involving fire, smoke, and explosions were filmed at Post Studios. Okay. Producers recruited British science fiction writer Nigel Kneale to write the original screenplay, mostly because Carpenter admired his Quatermass series. Kneale said his script did not include, quote, "horror for horror's sakes." He adds, quote, "The main story had to do with deception, psychological shocks rather than physical ones." Kneale asserts that that movie mogul Dino De Laurentiis, owner of the film's distribution rights, did not care for it and ordered more graphic violence and gore. While much of the plot remained the same, the alterations displeased Kneale, and he requested that his name be removed from the credits. Director Tommy Lee Wallace was then assigned to revise the script. Wallace told Fangoria that he created the title of the film as a reference to, quote, "a plot point," the three masks featured in the film, an attempt to connect this film with the others in the series. He explained in the interview that the direction that Carpenter Hill wanted was to take the Halloween series, stating, quote, "It is our intention to create an anthology of the series, sort of along the lines of Night Gallery or The Twilight Zone, only on a much larger scale, of course. Each year, a new film will be released that focuses on some aspect of the Halloween season." Oh, that's interesting. Hill told Fangoria that the film was supposed to be, quote, "a pod movie, not a knife movie." As such, Wallace drew inspiration from another pod film, Don Siegel's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The fictional town of Santa Mira was originally the setting of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and named as such in Halloween 3 as an homage to Siegel's film. Aspects of the plot proved very similar as well, such as the, quote, "snatching bodies and replacing them with androids." I don't know, kind of has a Stepford Wives feel to it, but what do I know. Halloween 3's subtitle came from George A. Romero's second film, Season of the Witch, also known as Hungry Wives, but the plot contains no similarity to Romero's story of a housewife who has become involved in witchcraft. Film critics like Jim Harper called Wallace's plot, quote, "deeply flawed." Harper argues, quote, "Any plot dependent on stealing a chunk of Stonehenge and shipping it secretly across the Atlantic is going to be shaky from the start." He noted, quote, "There are 4 time zones across the United States, so the western seaboard has 4 hours to get the fatal curse-inducing advertisement off the air. Not a great plan." Harper was not the only critic unimpressed by the plot. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times wrote, quote, "What's Cochran's plan? Kill the kids and replace them with robots? Why?" Yeah, that's actually a really good question. The cast of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch consisted mostly of character actors whose previous acting credits included cameo appearances on various television series. the exception for Tom Atkins and veteran actor Dan O'Harely. Cast as Surgeon Daniel Dan Chalice, Atkins had appeared in several John Carpenter films prior to Halloween 3. Atkins played Nick Castle in The Fog and Raimi in Escape from New York. Atkins guest starred in television series such as Harry O., The Rockford Files, and Lou Grant. Atkins told Fangoria that he liked being the hero. As a veteran actor, he added, quote, "I wouldn't mind making a whole career out of being in just horror films." After Halloween 3, Atkins continued to play supporting roles in dozens of films and television series. Stacey Nielkin co-starred as Ellie Grimbridge, a young woman whose father was murdered by Silver Shamrock. She landed the role after a makeup artist working on the film told her about the auditions. In an interview, Nielkin commented on her character Ellie, quote, "Ellie was very spunky and strong-minded. I like to think of myself as having these traits. She was written that way in the script." Nielkin considered it an honor to be playing Jamie Lee Curtis's successor. You sure about that? According to Roger Ebert, Nielkin's performance was the, quote, "one saving grace in the film." Ebert explained, quote, "She has one of the rich voices that makes you wish she had more to say and in a better role. Too bad she plays her last scene without a head." Prior to her role as Grimbridge, Nielkin was one of the main characters in the 1980 Mad Magazine movie Up the Academy, which also starred Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid. Nice. After Halloween 3, Nielkin continued work as a character actress on television. Veteran Irish actor Dan O'Harely was cast as Conal Cochran, the owner of Silver Shamrock, and the witch from the film's title, a 3,000-year-old demon in Keneal's original script. O'Harely had played close to 150 roles before co-starring as the Irish trickster and was nominated for an Academy Award for his performance in The Adventures of Robinson Crusoe. He appeared in another 20 films and television series before his death in 2005. O'Harely admitted in an interview with Starlog magazine that he was not particularly impressed with the finished film. When asked what he thought of working in the horror film, O'Harely responded, quote, "Whenever I use the Cork accent, I'm having a good time, and I used the Cork accent in Halloween 3. I thoroughly enjoyed the role, but I didn't think it was much of a picture, no." Two members of the supporting cast are not strangers to the Halloween series. Nancy Kyes played Chalice's ex-wife Linda. She had appeared in the first two Halloween films as Laurie Strode's promiscuous friend Annie Brackett. Stunt performer Jack Warlock makes a cameo appearance as the android assassin. Warlock had earlier co-starred as Michael Myers in Halloween 2. Jamie Lee Curtis also provided uncredited voice work as the Santomir curfew announcer and the telephone operator. Nice. This film was the directorial debut of Tommy Lee Wallace, although he was not a newcomer to the Halloween series. Wallace served as art director and production designer for John Carpenter's original Halloween, and he had previously declined to direct Halloween 2 in 1981. After Halloween 3, Wallace directed other horror films such as Fright Night Part 2, Vampires Los Muertos, and the miniseries It, the television adaptation of the Stephen King novel. Despite disagreements between Wallace and original scriptwriter Nigel Kneale, the actors reported that Wallace was a congenial director to work with. Stacey Nielkin told one interviewer, quote, the shoot as a whole was fun, smooth, and a great group of people to work with. Tommy Lee Wallace was incredibly helpful and open to discussion on dialogue or character issues. Although the third film departed from the plot of the first two films, Wallace attempted to connect all three films together through stylistic themes. The film's opening title features a digitally animated jack-o'-lantern, an obvious reference to the jack-o'-lanterns that appeared in the opening titles of Halloween and Halloween 2. Wallace's jack-o'-lantern is also the catalyst in the Silver Shamrock commercials that activate the masks. Another stylistic reference to the original film is found in the scene where Dr. Chalice tosses a mask over a security camera, making the image on the monitor seem to be peering through the eye holes. There is a nod to the scene in which a young Michael Myers murders his sister while wearing a clown mask. Finally, the film contains a brief reference to its predecessors by including a few short scenes from Halloween in a television commercial that advertises the airing of the film for that upcoming holiday as a minor story within a story. Ha Wallace's use of gore served a different purpose than in Halloween 2. According to Tom Atkins, quote, the effects in this film aren't bloody. they're more bizarre than gross. Special effects and makeup artist Tom Burman concurred, stating in an interview, quote, "This movie is really out not to disgust people. It's a fun movie with a lot of thrills in it, not a lot of random gratuitous gore." Many of the special effects were meant to emphasize the theme of the practical joke that peppers the plot. New York Times film critic Vincent Canby notes, quote, "The movie features a lot of carefully executed, comically horrible special effects." Canby stood as one of the few critics of the time to praise Wallace's directing, saying, quote, "Mr. Wallace has a fondness for the cliches he's parodying and does it with style." Yeah, I'd definitely say so. The soundtrack was composed by John Carpenter and Alan Howarth, who worked together on the score for Halloween 2 and several other films. Music remained an important element in establishing the atmosphere of Halloween 3. Just as in Halloween and Halloween 2, there was no symphonic score. Much of the music was composed to solicit, quote, "false startles" from the audience. The score of Halloween 3 differed greatly from the familiar main theme of the original and sequel. Carpenter replaced the familiar piano melody with a slower, electronic theme played on synthesizer with weeping tonalities. Howarth explains how he and Carpenter composed the music for the third film, saying, quote, "The music style of John Carpenter and myself has further evolved in this film's soundtrack by working exclusively with synthesizers to produce our music. This has led to a certain procedural routine. The film is first transferred to a time-coded videotape and synchronized to a 24-track master audio recorder. Then while watching the film, we compose the music to these visual images. The entire process goes quite rapidly and has instant gratification, allowing us to evaluate the score and sync to the picture. This is quite an invaluable asset." One of the more memorable aspects of the film's soundtrack was the jingle from the Silver Shamrock Halloween mask commercial. Set to the tune of "London Bridge is Falling Down," the commercial in the film counts down the number of days until Halloween, beginning with day 8, followed by an announcer's voice, Tommy Lee Wallace, encouraging children to purchase a silver shamrock mask to wear on Halloween night. 8 more days till Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 8 more days till Halloween, silver shamrock. Yeah, I bet that song's gonna get stuck in your head after you watch the movie. So overall, I'd say this is an interesting take on the Halloween franchise, and as an anthology, it could have worked, but I guess fans were kind of disappointed that there wasn't any Michael Myers in this movie, so that's why he ultimately came back for the sequel, which I'll be covering tomorrow. So overall, I give Halloween 3 Season of the Witch 3 jack-o'-lanterns out of 5. Well, join me tomorrow as we take a look at Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. So, until then, peace out, everybody.